Hello and welcome to the part two of Star Wars special coverage. This is Faultline. I'm Dan Groover, your host. The recording date is 12/29/2015, and as we warned you in the previous part, this may include some spoilers in it. So if you have not seen episode 7 yet, I would wait until you've seen episode 7 before you listen to these fault line episodes. And as always, I've got Arabella with me. Arabella, how are you doing this evening?
Not doing pretty good.
So, what were some of the topics you wanted to cover for this part two session of Star Wars, a la Fault Line?
Well, the thing I wanted to do was kind of bring it back home, because we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about, of course, mostly focused on the new movie. But there were some things that we talked about that, like, sparked, I don't know, interest in me as to why these things are. And I think that was what lingered, where I said, we got to talk more about this because I wanted to know why these things are. So here's where I would start. You mentioned that at the end of the movie, when you noticed a lot of nostalgia and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said at the end of the movie, you actually got teary-eyed.
Yeah.
When Rey's character was passing the lightsaber to Luke, I focused in on that. I was like, wow, and why was that so powerful? What is it about Star Wars that does that to people? Because you're not prone to getting overly emotional in a movie.
No, not at all.
Not at all, right?
Yeah.
So what was that? That's what I wanted to focus on for this episode. I was like, there's something about Star Wars, clearly, that does that to people, and I want to get to the bottom of what that is. To give you another example, I have a long-term friend, a friend from college, who, when the prequels came out, she actually gave me a call, out of the blue, and she said, Mary, I cannot explain it to you, but I was sitting in the theater, and all I know is I heard the music just blare out, just start, and I saw, the little words, disappearing off into the starscape, and she said she just started bawling right when, the prequel, episode 1, before she became disappointed by the movie. But I'm just saying, when it started, she had this huge emotional reaction. It was overwhelming to her, and she just started crying, and she was just like, I don't know where that came from, Mary. I don't know. And I was like, wow, So I think more than anything, that's what I wanted to talk about. What do you think? What do you think causes that?
I think it has
the deep connection that people have with these mythologies.
I think it has something to do with the fact that a lot of the characters are heroes and heroines in people's eyes, and there's kind of a collective archetype, that when there's events that involve heroes and heroines in an epic story or a space opera or whatever you want to call it, it's very moving, especially if you're already enmeshed into the mythology, of the story.
So, I mean, it can't just be the characters alone. It's not just that the characters are beloved, right?
It's not just the characters. I think it's a mix of the characters and the story, and how those two interact, along with the individual emotions of the observer who's watching the story.
Yeah. You know, I read. Well, let me put it this way. I bought the box set of Star Wars like way back in the day. I don't remember when, like maybe 1990 or something like that. And it was a special edition something box set. But it included this book that was written by George Lucas, and he was talking about what he intended to do with Star Wars from the start, right?
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was really telling. Like, I mean, because now, unfortunately, after the prequels came out, I mean, people are very critical of George Lucas, but I think I still give him a lot of respect. I think he was a visionary. I really do, and I think that he still is the overarching architect of Star Wars. I mean, maybe he would have made some bad decisions, and I definitely think that the magic of Star Wars happened because of collaborations of brilliant artists, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, what he was talking about was very intellectual, and he said, I intended to make this a modern mythology. In other words, he wanted to recreate the Odyssey for modern times. He wanted to create archetypal characters that would be universal and timeless. And I think he succeeded in that. I think that's why, that's why we're talking about how it still affects people emotionally. But not just, not just the generation that saw it when they were kids, but it still continues to affect people that way when they go back and look at it, because it is classical. It is archetypal. I mean, when you get down to it, the entire story of Star Wars is about redemption, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thrust of the story is redeeming something that went wrong. And, I mean, you really can't get more classic than that, right? I mean, you can add in everything else that made it brilliant, but
you could be like
I mean,
that.
At the end of the
you
day,
could be messed up like the Oedipus stories.
What story?
The Oedipus stories.
I don't even know if I want to go there. No, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let me put it this way. And here's what I really wanted to talk about with Star Wars. I mean, I can tell you, I saw Star Wars in 1977 when it came out, which means I was 6.5 years old. And here's what I remember about seeing Star Wars. I actually remember my mom talking me into going to see it. Somehow I have a memory of her actually talking. I was like, I don't want to go see that. It sounds scary. I was like, it sounds scary. It's in space. And she was like, Mary, no, you're going to like this. And of course, I loved it, right? And so, ironically, I wasn't in my hometown when we saw Star Wars. I was living in Denver, Colorado. And I remember this house we were in, I came home after seeing the movie. And you know what stuck with me?
What?
At being 6.5 years old, the scene where Luke and Leia swing across the chasm, in the Death Star.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why, but that stuck with me. And I had a poster bed, that had like a canopy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went home and I tied a rope to the top of one of the poster bed posts. And I tried to swing around my bed. And I busted my lip open. When I got home, and my mom was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "I was trying to swing across the Death Star." And she was like, "You need to take it down a notch, But I'm just saying, it made a huge impression as a child. Like, I never forgot it. Like, I loved it. And, and then I went through my teenage years and just sort of was always in the background. That was something that was part of who I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then later, when I started to really think about myself, I mean, it's kind of weird, but Star Wars provided, I mean, if you really think about it, like a template for what should be, way before I thought about religion or politics or, anything serious. Star Wars was the background for that. Like, that was the reality. That was the truth. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I was like, anything that they tell me, if it doesn't match Star Wars, then it's bullshit. And that's a remarkable achievement for something that's in popular culture, a mythology. I mean, I could say the same thing of Lord of the Rings, though. There's a universal truth that's embedded in those stories. I mean, people hear it, and even though it's disguised, they know it. Like, they know the truth when they hear it and see it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that more than anything is why people get emotional over these movies. I mean, it's not about the lightsabers. Ultimately, it's not about even the funny moments or the way something looks or sounds. It's that you trust it. Like, there's a universal truth that they have trust in. And maybe that is why the prequels fell flat on some level, is that, George Lucas kind of lost that. He lost that storyline of showing the truth about things,
Yeah.
And he got distracted by trying to show how cool the Star Wars universe is, What do you think?
Yeah, it would seem that the prequels were a lot of show and not a lot of story.
Yeah, it was just sort of. I mean, there was some stuff. I'm not a total basher. Not like, not like some Star Wars fans. Like, there were a lot of things I liked in the prequels, but I'm just saying the overall thrust of the mythology kind of fell flat. It was not there,
Uh-huh.
Because I think that is the soul of Star Wars. The soul of Star Wars is about these universal truths that we all kind of know in our background, especially people who have maybe family issues and more importantly, daddy issues. Anyone who has ever been disappointed by their father would really find a lot of emotion uh, in following Luke, like learning, who his father was, and you know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to resonate, and I think that's number one why it resonated so much with Generation X is that, I mean, let's face it, Generation X was the latchkey absentee father generation. I mean, all of us were like, yeah, let's go redeem our fathers. you know? I mean, we got that. That hit home. I mean, it's probably right around the age where people were losing their fathers.
Yeah.
I think that's very psychological. I think it's a powerful part of why that story just, like, moved people, And especially by the time you get to the end of Return of the Jedi, where Luke never lost faith, He was just like, no, you know? It's not that he ultimately overcame evil. It was more like he discovered love, and that he was unwilling to waver, and, realized that having faith in what's important will save the day. I mean, that's a powerful message, So anyway, let's bring that back to the current movie. I think that is why this movie is going to be ultimately successful in the series, because it has the same message. It's the same idea that having faith in your friends and what's good will ultimately save the day, right?
Pretty much. That's a good theme.
And it incorporated, I don't know, all the other jokes of Star Wars. Let the Wookiee win, right? And yeah, I'm still marveling over how many things that J.J. Abrams was able to put in this movie just to connect it. Kind of amazing. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that?
I just think I think I think it was a good start for a reboot, you know, and I'm kind of interested in what the other 5 movies are that they're gonna produce between now and 2020. But they
I
said they were gonna
know.
do
I mean,
one. They said
are
they're
they
gonna
gonna
do
hang
one
on
per
to this
year.
mythology, or is it gonna go south?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was like really disappointed that so many people hated Kylo Ren. Did you hear about this? Like the Kylo Ren backlash. It's like he's the new Jar Jar Binks.
Is
Like they
Kylo
really
Ren?
hated the fact that he wasn't a solid villain. They didn't like the fact that he was immature and reckless, and I mean, in some ways, he was Han Solo, he was Luke. I mean, he was like embodying so many characters in Star Wars. I saw all that, and I thought it was amazing. I was like, oh no, this is good. This is good stuff. I mean, it's not to be discredited just because you didn't see some, badass crushing. I mean, we already saw Darth Vader. you know, like, don't don't get it twisted. You know, it's okay to see Kylo Ren not living up to it, like not getting it right. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was very dynamic. And the scene where it was like mirroring the scene on one of the Star Destroyers where one of the captains comes up to report bad news,
Yeah.
I mean, in Star Wars, it was just like, he was just sort of had like look on his face, and he was about to talk to Darth Vader, and like you're just ready for him to, like just see him seize his throat with the Force, right?
Yeah.
I liked the fact that they expanded on that, and it was like exaggerated. It was like, in this movie, he came up and he was like, and like he knew what was going to happen, and my brother and I were sitting there when we were watching it. We just started snickering because we knew exactly what was going to happen, and it was funny, and it was so exaggerated that he just was like, talking. He's like, oh God, this is gonna go so bad. And then all of a sudden, and like, his boots like slide across the floor. I can't understand why people didn't respond to that or didn't think that was funny. It was almost like a commentary on Darth Vader and about how this guy isn't Darth Vader, but I thought it was brilliant. And I thought it was actually a really hilarious moment.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like that scene? Or did you think it was over the top?
I didn't particularly care for the scene because after I think after he choked that guy, he turned around and like took the lightsaber and tore up the computer behind him. I don't know. That scene didn't sit well with me because it just showed that the character seemed to be relatively weak as far as like his mental capacity, as far as being like mentally fit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a little kid having a temper tantrum, and
exactly though.
I know,
what
but
I'm saying is, I think the Star Wars story needs this. Like, my brother and I saw it the same way. We were like, it's like a kid playing with daddy's gun. He's not formed. He has no clue what he's dealing with. He thinks he knows, but he's totally out of control. And I mean, I found it disturbing and on a different level, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, I think people wanted to see another Darth Vader. Like, they wanted to see a perfect Sith who was badass, And so they were disappointed by that. But I like the way they did the character, that it was different. It was a different take on the Force, which is, it's not all good, I mean, which kind of brings me back to something that I told you before, which really kind of bugs me about Star Wars. I mean, when we talk about it being archetypal and, having universal truths inside it, let me put it this way. Would you want to live in that galaxy? Would you want to live in a place where incredible amounts of power are basically, given to individuals, then it determines the destiny of everyone else who lives there? Would you want to live somewhere where the Force rules what happens?
I don't know.
It seems pretty unstable.
Maybe arguable. Maybe arguable. We already live in a place like that where there's individuals with lots of power that determine the fate.
Is it universal truth? Or is it exaggerated? I don't know. That's the real question. But, I mean, at least there you see it. I mean, clearly, if someone is embodied with the dark side of the Force, they can raise an army and build a Death Star that blows up planets. You know, I mean, we're on one planet. We're talking about nations, but you know, is that someplace you would want to live, where this dynamic keeps arising? Like, where you have to hope that on a wing and a prayer, like, the good guys are going to sail in on the Millennium Falcon and save the day? I mean, it sounds kind of shitty. You know, it sounds kind of shitty to raise a family on some planet in the Star Wars galaxy, right?
Yeah.
You know, you sign up with, what, a trade union, and you're just doing your thing, and next thing you know, the next Sith arises, and oh shit, they build another Death Star, and next thing you know, they're about to blow your ass up. Doesn't seem like someplace I'd want to live.
I don't know, kind of sounds like the Middle East, living in the Middle East.
I think you're saying more than you're saying. So there we go. There's the universal truths in Star Wars, but what is it really about? I mean, they're talking about republic. They have a republic, right, that keeps trying to survive, and yet there's a theocracy.
Yeah, I thought
that overlays it.
What did you
right?
think? What did you think about that? The First Order. Didn't that like some scenes of the First Order? Didn't that seem reminiscent of some of the scenes from The Wall?
Oh, absolutely. I thought he invoked that for sure. Which The Wall was obviously, you know, talking about fascism in general, but specifically, clearly, I mean, with Roger Waters and his obsession with World War II, I mean, he was talking about the Third Reich, you know. But I think that's what I'm saying. In this movie, it made it more real. Like, it brought it closer to home in a scary way, you know. And whoever that actor is that they got to, you know, play the... I don't know what he was. Was he just a captain? But when he was giving the speech to the stormtroopers and they were like getting ready to give the Zeke Hail, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, that was way too close to home. I was like, this is exactly why people find mirrors in Star Wars. I mean, this is what people fear happening. And, you know, it wasn't that long ago. It was not that long ago that we saw that exact scenario happen here. So.
All right, Arabella, we got 90 seconds. What do you think? Are we going to have another episode on Star Wars, or are we going to cut it off here?
I don't know. Maybe. But I think I said pretty much what I wanted to say about Star Wars.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Faultline, Star Wars Part 2. I'm your host, Dan Gruber, and we've been talking with Arabella, and be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We'll be working on that, developing it soon, and take care.